through nationalism, through Indian national freedom movement. Because Sri Aurobindo was one of the earliest national leaders of the freedom movement. And the other leaders were moderates, means pro-British more or less, you see, and wanted only reforms and some seats in the legislature and so on. Whereas Sri Aurobindo pleaded for the first time, he and Tilak pleaded for complete independence. Yeah, no. Tilak, Bal Gangadhar Tilak, B.G. Tilak. There were 2 or 3 leaders only who stood out for complete independence in the early, 90s. In fact, before 1900, even in 1893. You see, he was one of those who stood strongly for freedom of India. So that is how indirectly I got introduced to Sri Aurobindo. And because he was national leader and he changed into his spiritual life, I also tried to follow him to find out why he has changed, what has happened, and that's how I got into spiritual life. Through politics, that is to say. Yes.
I think everyone here has read your evening talks. Could you tell about your first trip to Pondicherry?
In fact, I have written about it in the evening talks.
Yeah, you wrote about evening talks and I read it, but I think most of these people haven't read it. I didn't really.
It was in there. I went, in fact, we had organized under his leadership a revolutionary group, you see, on western coast, means on the coast of Gujarat, in Bombay side. And we were also taking part in the constructive movement of politics, that is to say, in building up young men's associations, building up their physical bodies and forming character and so on. But our main purpose was to prepare them for revolution. That was our main business. So we didn't make it public. You see, naturally, under British government, you couldn't publicly carry out a revolutionary movement. So we kept it behind, and 10 or 11 years we worked at it. And when it was ready for being put into execution, I went to Pondicherry to take permission from him, so as to start the movement and carry out some items of the program. So then he did not give consent to that proposal or that program. He said that India would be free without outbreak of a revolutionary type, means revolution in the sense of extreme use of methods of looting government treasury or resorting to guerrilla warfare. You see, he said that India would be free without that. And then he persuaded me also, tried to persuade me to take up yoga seriously, because I was practicing yoga also at that time. But yoga was my side activity. The freedom movement was main activity. You see, that was the idea. So he tried to persuade me, and somehow I got the conviction from him that India would be free without revolutionary movement. So we changed our whole institution, the color of the institution, and made it into a constructive work to build up character and to prepare men of character who would serve a cause or do some work and so on, like that. To change the whole organization, which was spread out all over Gujarat. It was a big organization concerning about 2,000 young men and so on.
At that time, did you went with Gandhi at that time?
No, I worked with Gandhi, but I was not Gandhi's follower.
You went with
Yes, I was captain of the volunteers in 3 conferences and 1 congress, All India Congress and provincial congresses. So I was captain of the 4 or 5 conferences of Bombay side, and I was captain of the volunteers of All India Congress in Ahmedabad in 1920. You see. And we worked with him, we argued with him also about so many points, and we all do cooperation. And he knew that we didn't believe in his theory as a creed, but we followed the policy and kept to the letter. Till we were there, we never carried any revolutionary movement into execution. It was after 18 that I went to take permission, you see. And when he didn't permit, we changed our color. So we didn't carry out the program of revolutionary activity, but he knew that very well, Gandhi. His followers also, Vinoba and all these people I know very well.
Change then and turn in events, and undoubtedly a disappointment at the moment for you.
Not disappointment, no. Because we had some sort of trust in him, in the sense that it was he who put down the revolutionary program. He gave a plan in writing as to how to prepare the outermost circle, the inner circle, and the inmost circle. You see, there were three circles, and the last only knew what was the program, what was to be done, and so on. The middle circle knew very little, and the outermost circle knew nothing practically except public activity, educational work, or physical culture, or the students helping student class, or night school, or something, whatever it was. They never knew what was going to be done. So the outermost, the inner, and the inmost circle. The inmost circle was only 6 or 8 of us. And I went on their behalf to take permission, you see. And when he did not, we changed the whole program. And Gandhi also was on the scene, you see, so that any violent program would have a strong reaction in the national camp, perhaps. But that we did not count. If he gave permission, we would have gone. We didn't care. But that also was an additional factor in making the change easy from the revolutionary activity to constructive work. It was very easy.
Do you know why he changed from a planning revolutionary activity?
Well, you see, it was a vision which I have described in my evening talks, appendix. It's very small interview, but if you read it, you will see how it happened. You see, it was a result of his vision of India's freedom. And practically what did actually happen was that when I said that we are ready now, and so if you give permission, we will start. So he didn't answer at all. For 2-3 minutes, it was quiet. And then after said, but why do you want to carry out this program? I said, you gave the program. I was young, you must remember, I was quite young, 20 or 22. You see, 22, I think, or 23, about thereabouts. You see, so you gave the program. So naturally, I worked it out. Yes, but it may not be now necessary to carry it out. I said, but how? Now we have worked the program and we are ready. And so he said, yes, I have done that work and I know its responsibilities and its difficulties. And it may not be necessary first, he said. So I said, that is all right, but how are the British government to go from India? Then he changed the topic and told me, but why didn't you concentrate on yoga and practice of sadhana and so on? So I said, sadhana, I don't care very much for sadhana, I do plainly. I care for the freedom of India, and if India is free, thousands perhaps will do spiritual yoga, you see, and so on. But to a country that is not politically free, nobody is going to listen to its spirituality or truth or reality and so on. So it is no use giving that as the first program and so on. That was the meaning of what I said, you see. So he said that, yes, but you see, the government always puts in its agent into such organizations and espionage work, and they always prevent the work from being carried out. Any executive program is thwarted in advance. There are people who keep all the information, and just before the time you act, they prevent you from carrying out your plan. And then also your group to keep together is not easy. Always they quarrel, and there is idea of leadership, and so leader, and so not leader, and all kinds of difficulties are there internally. The government position is there, and so on. So he said that is why I would not want the activity to be done. So I said, but I can't give up the work unless India is free. I can't think of anything else. Then he was very kind and he said, all right, if you feel like that, you are quite free to do it. You are quite free to carry out the program. No, I said, I have come to take permission and your sanction from you. He said, that I can't give. You can carry out it. You are quite free. If you feel that you must do it, you could do it. I don't object to it. But if you ask me, then I say no. I can't give my sanction because I know the difficulties and I know why it should not be done. Then I said, but I can't concentrate. If I want to do yoga also, I can't concentrate because this idea doesn't get out of my mind. It is that which comes and I am not able to sleep. It was a fact. 2 years about, I didn't quite sleep. So he said, then he didn't answer for 2, 3, 4 minutes. He was quiet and said, right, suppose an assurance is given to that India will be free. And I got into my young man's mood. I said, who dare give such an assurance? I actually challenged like that. You see, I didn't know. I thought he was give some reason, you see. So I said, who dare give such an assurance? Now it's in 1918, you see, that there was no freedom for nothing. It was Montagu Chelmsford reforms and so on, some reforms they were going to give. So he didn't answer. Then after 3 minutes, 4 minutes, he said, suppose I give the assurance. Then I was in a difficulty also, because we began the movement with his inspiration and with his plan and so on. And we knew that he was the only leader who brought the idea of complete independence to the front in Indian politics. It was he who gave the national philosophy. Other leaders, Tilak was the only one, and Tilak had not that intellectual stamina which Sri Aurobindo had. He was a very strong leader in the sense that he would send thousands to jail and go himself also. Very sincere man. But in intellectual caliber and vast knowledge of history and politics and all, Sri Aurobindo was the one leader who gave the philosophy. So we knew that he was the only national leader. So, and he knows the interest of India as much at least as we should know. That's what I thought, you see. So after 2 minutes, I said, if you give the assurance, I can take. So he said, all right, I give assurance that India will be free without revolutionary movement. So we finished. Then we talked about Baroda, about whether he required some money, which I could get some old friends and barristers which were practicing to get some money to send to him and so on. Because he was in French India. It was Pondicherry was French India at that time. So he said he didn't require money and it was all right. And he said, you better concentrate on yoga and now this and that and so on. So I said, yes, I'll try. Then I got up for going. Because our time was over and it was over. The main topic was finished. So as I was leaving, we got up from the chair. It's a small table like that between me and him. And so I got up and then I said, are you quite sure about India being free? And he was very serious. He doesn't get angry like that, you see, he simply became very serious. And then he looked outside, didn't look at anything like that outside. And then he said, oh, you can take it from me, that's like the rising of the sun tomorrow. The decree has gone forth, it won't take long in coming. That was the end of the matter, that's all. Well, but I was able to sleep that night in the train. Most important result was in the train I was sleeping soundly. I took the train at 8 o'clock and got up only at Madras. I didn't know what happened in between. Well, that was in 1918. It's a result of vision of truth, you see. It's not a political reading, it's not mere prophecy, it's yogic knowledge.
Did you start practicing then?
I had been practicing already. I had some results which I told him and so on, my difficulties and everything. But to me, that was not important. Of course, I did some work.
Was your mind clear enough now?
Yes, yes. 1914, I had begun practicing in 1912 practically, 1910 or 12. And then 1914, he started the Arya, the magazine. So I ordered it, first issue. I was among the first subscribers of the Arya, 24th, I think my number was. Very old story. But anyway, I used to go from the college to the post office to take the issue. Regularly it used to come back. On the 15th it will be posted, on the 18th you will receive, without fail. And because the government would intervene, so we used to see that nothing is done to. I gave another address and not my address in the college, you see. I gave address of a friend, I used to go and pick it up there. Well, that's how we used to read from 1914. So it was regular from the first issue of the Arya. I read. And also, as I was practicing, I fell into his own line of yoga automatically. And so when I went in 18, it was also with that regard to know about my sadhana also. So after that, of course, I made it a main point to pursue. And from That time it was real, that work that I took up. I did national work for 5 years after that.
The next 5 years, you're working nationally
Yes,
to reconstruct the thing, wasn't
yes,
it?
yes.
There was the reconstruction.
Yes. The prepare the young men's associations in order to take part in the reconstruction of India, you see, and make them also people with strong body, with intellect and character, to turn out many people like that. And because subsequently in the national movement, many of these people were leaders, you see. These young people whom we prepared, they are now, some of them are in the public, you see, life now. Yes, they are in very good positions now. And they're good work also. And you dare they express their obligation. They even now remember, oh, we are what we are because we were there under your training and so on. But that's all time.
In Aurobindo's life brought about by his vision when he was, his spiritual experience when he was in prison. Wasn't that what
Yes,
changed
yes,
his
yes,
life?
yeah. That was an epoch
life.
making. Yes, that was a great change.
That's a turning point.
Yes, the experience of the Narayan, the omnipresent reality, of which he speaks in Life Divine. But he first spoke of it in 1909, March 31st. There was a public meeting called after his release from under trial prisoner, you see, after his trial, and he was asked to address a meeting, political meeting. And he forgot all about political meeting and he talked about his spiritual experience in jail. That's why that experience of his jail life is now in his own words and printed in those times, 1909, March 31st. There he spoke about the omnipresent reality that he saw and concretely felt and knew in material objects, in the trees and in the wall and in the man and everything that he saw in the court and everywhere, how he saw and felt. That you see, that made his whole life to change. Because then the question was how to make it into a constant experience. And then if the constant experience would come, then how would human nature change? Because human nature cannot retain the presence without changing, you see. Otherwise it will distort the whole experience. So he waited 18 years more afterwards to to organize and find out for himself what changes would take place in nature if the presence was maintained constantly, and how to maintain the presence constantly. That was also another problem. What is to be done in order to maintain the constant presence? And if it is constant, then how the nature would change? And if the nature change, well, then you can know the paths, then you can understand that it's a process. That's how it took 18 years to organize the whole, working within his own self and some few others with him. And it was afterward that he gave it out when somebody came and said that you better express what you know and so on in terms of intellect. So Arya was started in 1914, 4 years after that experience. And during Arya, he was developing that experience in himself up to 1922 practically.
And those articles that were in the Arya, what are they published in now? In book form?
Book form. All of them are published in book form. Life Divine came chapter by chapter. So Synthesis of Yoga came chapter by chapter. So Gita also came. Veda also came, like the Upanishad. Everything came chapter by chapter, and ultimately they were put in book form. Ideal of Human Unity also. It was begun in 16, I think, 2 years after.
Do you happen to know Mr. Krishna Menon?
No, personally I had not met him.
No.
He was in England for more than 15 years. And we were all in India. So when I went to England, he was in India government. He's a big boss.
Is he of the Brahmanical caste in India?
No, Menon is a non-Brahmin caste.
He's a non.
Yes.
Is it Hindu or?
Yes, he's in. You know about half a dozen, perhaps? I don't remember now.
Dozen.
Yes.
That's a pretty good number.
Yes.
Are they the ones that worked with him when they were testing out?
Yes, yes, some of them. One or two or three are dead. You see, four perhaps, and so on. The rest that are there are five or six are there. One or two have gone out, and so on. But five or six are there. And you must know it's a long span, 40 years. No joke.
And if you, unfortunately, there isn't more of them dead over so many years.
So younger people prepared to go out into the world and give the teaching of the Aurobindo.
Well, the method of, the working out is by actually practicing the yoga. That is the main idea. Main idea is not to propagate, you see. And the main idea is that those who believe in it should live. And it is by living that you propagate most. That's the idea. Well, there is some place for, publications and so on, writing or intellectual exposition of things and so on, or even when people are desirous of knowing to go and make some explanation available. There is room for that. But it is not the most important part of the work. It is a good part of the work and has to be done carefully because the world is always full of propaganda and it's just, they want to do what you call, yes, there is a word for it, I don't know. And he always was against it. It was with very great difficulty that we could persuade him even to, either start a publication or a quarterly or a thing like that. So a sort of propaganda and so on he didn't like because in propaganda you generally compromise with the truth while doing propaganda. So you try to attract people and then make them feel something and you say something more than you ought to say perhaps and so on. And then people expect, only to satisfy their desires and impulses rather than make an effort and change themselves. They will say, oh, if we do this, we'll get this. So the wrong type of people will generally come in. That's what happens in many spiritual movements, you see. The more of propaganda and so on, what you do is all kinds of people come in. Naturally, they say perhaps, oh, they say like that, let us try, we'll get something. And you see people generally full of desires and full of other impulses coming. And then the main work is sidetracked and also diluted. Real force is to create a spiritual, atmosphere and consciousness, which is important. Mind of mind will always go on doing, you see, it's universal mind and so many currents are going on, which are, as we talked that day in human cycle, they are not at all important, not at all touching the center, but they are all very happy. So let them be happy, there is nothing wrong. If people are doing some little, see, if a man cannot lift up a big weight, he will lift up his capacity. And then he will think, what a wonderful weight I have lifted. Well, let him be happy, that's all. He has lifted nothing. You read them and you find immediately they are not even 1/100th of what Aurobindo says, and what they talk is something tremendous. They are doing this, they are doing publishing regularly, 1,000 member, 100 people, regular, a house, $1 million in the bank. It means nothing in spirituality. It means sometimes negative spirituality. Something not only not spiritual, unspiritual. Now, who is going to say that? It's not necessary. Well, he's lifting as much weight as he can, and he feels it is enough for him. Well, it's all right. You can't put more weight on him, so it's good. This requires people who really can go in for weightlifting. Yes, then it's a real weight. It will be simply crushing. So, to try to change one's nature is like amputation. And how many are prepared to go in for the amputation of nature? You see, unnecessary and, the ignorant parts to be changed or amputated. Yes, throw out. How many will go in for that? It's easy to say, you sit down, do this, publish this, that. Oh, yes, good, very nice, nothing wrong. And go on learnedly discussing something nonsense. Say, but if science says, but only sensation, no, but sensation, but if, who determines, how it determines? You read this paper and you'll be surprised to know how you can talk nonsense intelligently. Absolutely meaningless, I tell you. But they are important people occupying posts so big, leaders of philosophical groups and college people, and they all come down and say, but this is very important. How? Who determines? Now, if man is only matter, mind also is matter. Yes. So we can determine mind. They don't determine nothing. It's all printing and good talk and good nice work. I don't object to it at all because it is God's work. It's all right. And God delights in that, let him delight in that. I am not delighted in that, that's all. If God is delighted, let him be happy and say, this is very good work. I say, yes, it is very good. I never object to it. If they say very nice, yes, it is nice for him. It is not nice in the way in which we want the work to be done. Then you set about and change yourself. First, begin here. It's difficult. It's nobody's to blame. You can't say that somebody's to do anything else than what he's doing. He's doing his maximum. So everybody is doing what he can. You see, that is what he can. So let him do that. That's all. This work requires heavy work. This is, you must go in for a real change. You may not walk on the path at all even, but you are on the right path. Suppose you get nothing, it doesn't matter. Your face is on the right truth. Well, these people have to unlearn many things, I tell you. You take my word for it. They will have to unlearn what they have been doing all along. This was wrong, this was wrong, this was wrong. We will not have to unlearn because he has shown the truth. This is the truth. One may not be able to walk, doesn't matter. But he knows what he has to do. And it's a very great thing in this world of nonsense where every kind of nonsensical idea is abroad. To know what you have to do really to fulfill yourself is something very great. And that is his greatest service to real seekers. It is so this is to be done. All right, if you are not able to do, don't worry. You will someday, your own sincerity and divine grace will allow you to do it. Don't be in a hurry. But you are on the right path and your face is in the right direction. There is no question. There is no question. And that is difficult to convey to somebody who is very busy and happy. In the world of appearance, you have to approve of appearance. In the world of reality, you cannot approve of appearance. In the world of appearance, you approve appearance because it has its place and it has its utility where it is. Yes, it's good. Rather than people sitting idly and tamasic life, it is better they churn up something and do something.
Sri Aurobindo, a privileged prisoner, was he nicely treated when he was in prison? He
No,
was given no concession?
he was solitary cell.
Well,
Because he was a revolutionary, therefore each revolutionary was separate from all the rest. No common dormitory or no common meeting. Each one was separated and put in solitary cell. He was also put in solitary cell. 8 by 8. And there was a little courtyard outside, and then a little circular. You go about 20 feet like that, you see. That's all. It is there still.
and did he, did they allow him to read and study and write?
No, 2 books or 3 books are allowed, religious books, Gita and Upanishad and so on, 2 or 3 books.
But I expect he made his time very
Oh, he didn't want anything. Even if the book was not, he was meditating all right. He didn't care at all. He was quite happy in this. He thought it was better that he was in solitary jail because he could meditate without disturbance. Oh, it didn't disturb him in the least. Not at all.
And he spent 2 years that way?
No, 1 year.
1 year.
1 year and 1 day.
And did he practice the yoga in
Yeah.
the Upanishads?
Yeah, yes, he got some hints also. He was practicing already from 1904. This was in 1908. So he was practicing, and then that gave him many hints about the process, about what is to be done, what is to be realized, and so on.
These are hints from his own inner guidance or from
Yes,
the book.
Books also, inner guidance came definitely with the experience. After the experience, he didn't require books. After the jail experience, he took the inner guide as a guidance, you see. The inner presence as a guidance. After 1908, he didn't take any outer guidance.
He didn't have a teacher, did he, previously?
He met one Vishnu Bhaskar Lele, a Marathi yogi, in 1907 December at Baroda, after the Surat Congress, where the moderates and the extremists came to blows and broke the Congress, you see, the National Congress. And he was at that time in a condition of, feeling how to keep up his yoga and his political work. That was his problem. And he didn't want to give up work, but he didn't also to give up yoga. So Lele at that time came and they asked him for isolating himself for some time, to isolate himself from company for some time. So they retired into a house in Baroda for about 3 days, and they meditated together. And he got an experience which was the first experience of nirvana. It was within 12 hours he got the experience and retained it afterwards for months together. So that was one gain which he get from Lele's, association and company. And Lele himself didn't expect that he would get into that condition, but he got it. And then Lele asked him whether he can depend upon his inner guidance. He said yes, he could. So after 3 months, their association came to an end. From December to February. That was the period, you see. From February 1908, he had no contact with anybody except his own inner guidance. In 1910, he got this experience. So after that, the presence of the divine was his guidance. He got a program laid down by the divine presence in him. This you will have to do. Yoga in 8 limbs, you see. That your yoga will have to go like that. So he put it down in one paper and then tried to follow it out when he went to Pondicherry. See what happened. Like that.
Did it follow pretty true to the, did it follow pretty true to the program?
Well, yes, it came up as it developed, and after that, once the yogi is on his inner life, afterwards it's not doesn't require to to always to consult because the presence is constant. It is when you are not on your feet that you require assurance and going back to mental assurance or intellectual program. Once you are in the inner life, then things are more clear than what mind can make clear, you see.
When did you get the first supermental experience?
That was in 1926, November 24th, the descent of the overmind consciousness, as a preliminary or as an assurance of the descent of the supermind, you see. It was not the descent of the supermind, but overmind consciousness descended as a promise of the descent of the supermind.
Was he given the word overmind to explain or?
Yes, he spoke about the overmind. He did. He didn't write about it in the Arya, it was not there. But after the Arya, after 1918, the conception and experience became clear. So he wrote about it after 1918, after the whole Arya. After he had finished the Life Divine in the magazine, when he second published the complete Life Divine, he incorporated it in the bigger book. The conception and the experience and the functioning of the overmind. Overmind is the cosmic consciousness without ignorance, if you want to know something about like that. We have done that in Life Divine, so.
I know, every question I ask is going to be there for when I get to Life Divine, but I'm only on the first chapter so far. No, it's second chapter.
That is the.
Were you there when Aurobindo passed away? And could you tell us about I understand something, I heard something about a light that descended on him.
Well, yes, I attended on him for 12 years every day, so that's all right. From 1938 to 1950. Every day I was with him, half a dozen, 6 of us were with him always. 3, 4, 2, 3, like that, always with him. After he got the fracture of the femur, the right leg, he had an accident in 1938, November 23. Next day was the darshan. It was just on the eve of the darshan that he got the accident and the fracture of the right femur. It was due to the increase of prostate gland enlargement that the crisis was precipitated in 1950. You see. And it was developing from 1946 practically. But nobody ever suspected or thought that it would take the turn that it did in 1950. You see, from April 1950, it was becoming more aggravated and more aggravated. And while in 1950, August it became very acute, and in November it became practically a crisis. But still the darshan was there, and he came out on November 24th with all that. You see. It was only obstruction of the urine, that's all, and retention. I think 2/3 or 3/4 of retention for about more than a year, I think. More than a year, you see. And it had no other reaction except that it was inconvenient, that's all. But then after November, that's on 24th, the precipitation of the crisis came on. And by 5th December, he left his body. That's why it was only 15 days. Hardly 15 days. Number 24th, 27th, 28th, and December 5th. You see. It didn't take him much.
Or wasn't any sort of diuretics or anything like that that would have helped?
No. It was enlargement of the prostate gland, the complete, the obstruction of the urine. And it was not one day's work, it was developing from 46, but for 1 year and a half, it was tremendous. The only surprise was that the crisis lasted so long. I think the period of it. If you retain 2/3 or 3/4 of urine, well, yes, you know that you are in for some crisis in 2-3 days, perhaps. This lasted for months together. Nothing happened.
And what year was it again you had the accident?
1938, November 23.
Because that was when Margaret Wilson was there.
Yes.
But I lost track of what year.
Yes,
When
1938.
she first arrived, I think. 1938 was it?
Yes, I think it is that year she arrived, no?
Yes, I think it was that.
Yes, he said that I can't see her and so on. I remember he's telling me that you tell her that I can't see her. I remember.
Yes. Mhm.
That lady healed up all right though, didn't
Hmm?
That lady healed up all right though. He could see her afterwards, couldn't he?
I don't know whether he met
Well,
her.
she's
Yes.
She was there for a long time.
It
wasn't
was
she?
about 4 years, I think, or maybe more.
Oh, when did he retire into the,
1926 December. November 24th was the descent of the overmind. December was his withdrawal. 1926.
Was one reason for that withdrawal to
Attend more to the physical transformation, to bring it down into the physical and material consciousness of the body.
I was wondering whether it was in order to hold that consciousness.
No, to carry out the process of descent further down into the physical and material part of the human system, you see. Mother took up the organizational and the ashram part, and he took up this part, you see. So that there was a kind of a sort of division of function.
Could you see change as it did descend?
Oh yes, great change, very great change. The very color of his body underwent change in 1920 practically.
1920, that early?
Yes, he was dark before when I met him in 1918. And I went in 1920, second time, he was bright and fair and shining. Apple cheeks. Oh, I've never seen that.
The whole,
Yes, whole body had undergone a change.
at
Very
20, and yet he
And
didn't.
yet he didn't know. I told him, he said, no, we have to wait. He said, I have to bring it. This is in the vital and nervous system, what you see, he told. But the real change has to be brought when the real work will be done. It must come down into the very physical cell and physical body. The body must participate in the inner experience. Then establishment of the higher consciousness on earth would be QED complete.
Well, in the, that little booklet, you know, the passing of Sri Aurobindo,
Oh, yes.
it mentioned something about the radiance.
Yes, it was the body was shining, that is true. Body was more shining than it was when he held it, you see, with his vital force. It was brighter in that respect, fairer and brighter. The color became whiter.
Well,
There are people who saw the radiance also. There were thousands allowed to pass by the court, you see. Like that. You see, one side, people or public was allowed to pass by. Some 50,000 people perhaps might have passed. And some ashram people and some outsiders saw the light. But the color of the body without seeing any light was visible. The change was visible to anybody who could come. Because 4 days the French doctor had to come and certify. You can't keep a dead body more than 12 hours or 1 day at the maximum. That's a law there, you see. In all the parts, I mean, in every city there's a law. So you can't keep it. So every day the medical, you see, men from the medical college, I mean, hospital used to come, French doctor, and certify that it is all right and you can keep. You have to keep.
every day he had to do
Every
that.
day.
So how long was he kept in?
100 hours. About 4 days. Full 4 days.
And then would be buried.
Yes, buried in the ashram compound where the samadhi is there. If you see the.
He wasn't cremated?
No,
No. Because of
Yes,
the
yes.
change in the body.
yes. It was there in the ashram compound. You see, the samadhi is the place where he was. Yeah.
Well, normally, the Indian custom is to cremate.
Yes.
Because
yes,
of the work he had done on
Yes.
purifying the body,
Yes.
this wanted to be held.
Yes, naturally. For that, you have also sometimes to get government sanction, but the whole government knew his place, so there was no question of it and so on. The government easily won't allow anyone to do like that because they must go to the place where it is, or cremation or internment, you see. But that because he was all world figure in one sense, and then it was necessary to keep the body in the ashram, it was all right.
I think that's interesting, the fact that normally you would cremate, but because of the work he'd done, it keeps the whole
Yes,
process anchored on earth.
yes.
There's no doubt about it.
There's some all meditate there only. Sit down for meditation. The whole ashram, 2,000 of them, not one or two. On the 24th of April and on 4th and 10th of December. More than
Write these dates down with pencil. 4th of April,
24th of April is the day of meditation round the Samadhi, and 4th December and 10th December.
and why are those days?
Because that's the day on which he left his body, and 10th December is the day on which he was buried there. So
Yeah.
on that day, their meditation in the ashram.
What was it about the 24th?
Well, that is that is 24th November. 24th November 1926. The descent of the overmind consciousness.
April 24th.
Was someone meditating at the Samadhi
Yes.
24 hours around the clock?
No. No.
I was wondering. I know
No.
all during the day there's someone there.
Yes.
But,
Oh, that is going on all the year round.
Yeah,
That
all
way,
the year
yes,
round.
yes.
But what I meant, I was wondering if somebody would, if they take shifts during the night.
No.
And
No. Up to 11, they are all allowed to come and meditate there. At 11, when the gate is closed, only inside members can meditate if they want.
oh, the gate's closed.
Yes, at 11 o'clock, the gate is closed.
Well, we went up there that night.
Mm.
I know there was someone there.
Yes, all time, yes.
It's just coming and going.
Yes. At 4 o'clock, it opens.
Yeah.
From 4 to 11, there is somebody there all the time. 5, 10, 20, 30, 40, 1, 2, but they will be always there. At 11, when the gate is closed, only the inmate of the inner ashram.
Is that AM or PM?
Hmm?
AM or PM?
PM.
PM. all the way then.
Yes, yes, yes. 11.
Ronnie, we missed why and meditation takes place on the 24th of April.
April is the day on which I think Mother came. It is one of the days on Mother's arrival, second arrival, not the first arrival, but second arrival. First is about 20th, I think.
I know we used to get a lot out of just going there and, they have the bench there by the
Yes.
reception room.
Yes.
We'd
yes.
sit on that bench there of an evening.
Mm.
It was very interesting. We got a lot out of it.
Yes.
Well, there's an atmosphere, there's really something that you feel as you get in the Ashramism, to those of you who have been there. I know you do, but I mean the others do too, don't you?
Yes, those who are a little sensitive
I
also.
didn't know what it was, but I felt something all the time I was there.
Did the doctors take note of this transformation in the flesh? Did they take note of this?
What could they take note? They had only to do their duty in the way to say whether they can keep the body or not. That's all.
No, I don't mean after he left the body. I
Yes.
mean, during his lifetime,
Yes.
was there any doctor who
Yes.
was metaphysically minded, interested?
Yes. Oh, yes. Dr. Sanyal used to come and he used to go up and ask him, and then he used to examine and say that perhaps you have slight glycosuria and a little glycosuria, and then he used to say that you have prostate tendency and so on. But he didn't take any medicine. That didn't result in his taking medicine.
No, but I mean, were they interested in this great psychological and metaphysical change in the organism?
Transformation that was happening.
That they couldn't do because he wouldn't, submit to physical treatment first. And secondly, the doctors wouldn't have the courage to, to ask him for anything like that. You see, it is all right.
Well, of course, you would have to have a very advanced person who would understand this.
Yes.
Also, somebody that you look at be very valuable.
No, the fact is there, the value of fact is there that the body can undergo such a transformation. This is an established fact because people from Nairobi came and saw him. And it's such an open fact because French doctor officially visiting 4 days and people from Simla and from Nairobi, East Africa coming and seeing him, before he was buried. So that is a fact that body can undergo a transformation which is very remarkable. Now, what happens and so on, medical part of it is most secondary and unimportant from the yogic point of view because medical people cannot know what is happening. They can only judge the last result. And they will always try to explain away because they believe that what they know is the last word in body. By their method, they cannot make a body last 100 hours, you see. And if you make the body stand remain incorrupt 100 hours after the life is gone, they will say, they will always try to concoct a more impossible explanation, you see. So the medical people and the science-minded people are the people who have no understanding that there is a reality which is beyond sense. But if they don't understand, how are you going to convince them? They don't want to understand. You can't make people who have decided not to understand to see anything beyond what they want to see. They can't see. It's not their fault.
But I should think that this great transformation that took place over such a long period of years.
Not only that, I have hundreds of cases in my record, in my own knowledge, where he has cured them without any medicine. Hundreds, not one or two. At least 500 I recall.
That Aurobindo cured people?
Oh yes, Mother and Sharunda cured, to my knowledge, and there might be others which I don't know. So 400 to 500 people without any medicine. Now medical science says, it's all grandmother's story. What they know is the last word. Understand, I meant not to be superstitious. That is understandable. But you can't be blind to facts. You have to see, you have to try to find out. That's what the scientists are. Most of them. William Crookes had to go through that difficulty. to found the Psychic Research Society of London. That's how it was founded. You know the story. Oh. Read the first report of the London Psychic Research Society and you will have good knowledge, very fine knowledge of how blind the scientists can be. They are charging the other people, like old-fashioned pundits and people who believe in authority, but they themselves are absolutely so blinded that one of them, Sir William Crookes, wanted to demonstrate phenomena of spirit working on some human body. They said, we don't want to see. Royal Society of Science in London. He was a member of it. He resigned after that.
Well, was that spirit working on body? I know you made reference to that in one of the papers.
Yes, of course.
You said that there was a vital being.
Yes, yes.
That was
Yes,
able to
came,
move.
yes, came in.
Is that spirit the vital
Yes,
being?
yes, there was a being that came in to demonstrate. And he gave his full life story. It is all on record. He gave his life story. I was so and so, I was so and so, I did this, I did this, I did this. And I have come back because on the point of death, well, I found that I had no opportunity to undo the crimes that I had done against people. He had killed, murdered, he was a pirate, you see. He was doing
Did
piracy.
you call that a spiritual being?
No, it's a vital being. It is not, the question is, these scientists refuse to see a phenomenon. It doesn't matter what phenomenon. He said, I am not going to explain to you anything. I want you to see what is happening. You may think whatever cause or whatever explanation, that's your own lookout, but I want you to see. They wouldn't want to see. We say such a thing should not happen, but it does. What is to be done? A man, when he walks on fire, he must burn, but it doesn't burn.
Yes, because I know that.
We don't want to see.
No.
All right, you can shut your eyes. Thing is there. People actually do walk, and the whole village is in India, not 1, 2, or 3. Whole village walks.
Can you explain how that happened?
Well, that doesn't matter, explanation of facts. We are only judging facts. That's all. That there are supra-physical realities which impinge on the material plane of life and can intervene by some processes. You have to know the technique or process. For everything there is a technique. Why not? So Sir William Crookes had to start the London Psychic Research Society in opposition. And who was the other man? The first man who found the electron also, Edward, whose son died, Raymond, you see.
Oh, at Oliver Lodge.
Yeah, Oliver Lodge. Sir Oliver Lodge and William Crookes. And they both are scientists, mind. Both were scientists. The inner world took, the right persons to come in, you see.
Well, now this seclusion. When you went into seclusion, he went into seclusion.
Yes, but he was working all along with his consciousness.
Yes.
You see, work is not done by the body only, or idea or thought, or coming out only. Work is more easily and correctly done by consciousness, and he was all the time acting. So there was no withdrawal in that sense of the term except of the body. And body he withdrew because he wanted to work on the physical consciousness.
Yes.
But he was working all along.
And did he leave an account of this?
Yes, he used to keep a diary. Yes, he used to keep a diary.
And I guess that's very carefully guarded.
Well, I don't know, but I know I've seen the diary, so I know that he used to keep a diary day by day. I have not seen a more scrupulous, conscientious leader in spiritual life.
It seems to me that evidence would be invaluable.
Yes, for one who wants to take it, is not believe in it. There are people who will blind to the sun. You see, you don't know. The owl doesn't see the sun, so what's to be done? There's no remedy. In the yoga, he has written that we have done thousands and thousands of experiments before we have given one conclusion or one generalization. Still quite true, literally.
That diary would be wonderful reading and most instructive if and when the world gets ready for it, wouldn't it?
No, because to understand it, you have to know what he was doing, you see. He used to write he used to write in code language. He didn't write because it's too much to write everything. It's not mind that is, and you write one day, one volume you have to write. So it's a code. He used to write the code only. That's all. And everyone who has a big work has to evolve a code of his own. In fact, I have to do sometimes. So you can see I'm a small man, and still can't write what I want to write. I have to one point, that's enough for me. 2 points, that I know afterwards. So you have to only write a code.
I suppose you mean,
It's a language, a
yes,
short language of his own, shorthand of his own.
oh,
So if you know what it means, you understand. Otherwise, don't.
I thought you meant just abbreviates.
Yes, no, not abbreviate. That's one way, but this was his own code.
And you
It's a
said,
shorthand of your own.
Yes, his own shorthand.
you said another thing in San Francisco there at the Reeves about, you said you were careful to, get above the intellect, I think, when you were writing. And somebody asked a question, you said you took special training for that. Special training to,
Yes, you train yourself when things come in and when your inner guidance makes certain necessary demand, you have to try to carry it out and see what happens. Say, all right, mind, whether you can write when the mind does not work. You can try that and find out. That if the nature necessitates, you shouldn't artificially do anything. It must be in response to the inner need, you see.
the mother said, and I believe it was, for austerities and for freedom.
Yes.
Something about, if you are going to formulate a thought or something, don't worry with it. Don't try. Just clear yourself and make a prayer or whatever it is, and then just do it. Am I saying it proper or more or less?
Yes, you can do it like that if you have an opening.
If you are open.
If you have an opening, yes, to the higher knowledge.
Well, isn't that where she said that in?
If you have no opening and if you do nothing, then nothing will come, perhaps. You see? You must have an opening to the higher consciousness beyond mind. That itself is a work, you see, to keep the mind silent or passive, completely inactive, and open to something above. And when that happens, or when you can be, so to say, in command of that, means whenever you want, supposing it is not constant, doesn't matter, whenever you want, when you can get into it, it's all right.
Just right down to.
An opening is there and it's.
Until you get your
Yes. If the opening is there, it's safe, quite all right, because you will get what is necessary.
How do you know whether the opening's there or not?
And by experience, whether the mind is silent or not, whether your mind is active and meddling into it, or whether it is receiving, and when you see it, you can see that this is not a mind that has worked out. What comes is known by its character. The rise, the way in which it arises, you know that this is.
And you can tell which planes you're working on by how you express how it comes up. This I found fascinating.
In yoga and life divine, both we had to go through that process of explaining.
Yoga.
And life divine, both in dealing with both of them, we had to make this idea clear of the functions of the psychological consciousness of man.
Well, those books will be, those papers will be very valuable when they get ready for people, won't they?
Well, this is for some people who want to clear understanding, it will be good, I think. The rest of them, when they will say, but what is consciousness? And they go on talking about consciousness without knowing one word about it. It is surprising, really. So nice that people can be happy. Good.
Time will come and have to know, though. You have to go through all these things. You have to go through mind and beyond it, don't you?
Yes. No. These are the people who don't want to go beyond mind and they want to add infinite and go on talking. That's all. You say consciousness, then, but what is consciousness? Now that's all. And then you can go on talking about consciousness without being conscious.
Yes, I'm sure of that. But what I meant, if the person is polarized or open in the heart center and not necessarily mental, at some stage in order to have complete control of all the planes, you do have to go through the stage of mind and then ultimately sometimes go beyond mind too, don't you?
Yes. You can use your mind in its legitimate function
Yeah.
to seek the truths and not to be deceived by appearances. That you can say. Not to take everything for granted, not to be superstitious, not to be exaggerated in what you accept, not to be attached to ideas or preference to ideas, not to take as if to accept only what you like, in impersonality, detachment, seeking only for the truth. Well, if you maintain that, mind can give you very good guidance. Mind is a very important instrument. But then if you make mind the judge of everything, well, then the whole process is changed afterwards. Afterwards, you are all the time seated in the mind and mind and mind, and then you are doing mental work, which is good work, nothing wrong in it, but it's mental work.
There. How did the school at the ashram start?
See, there was one disciple who had 4 or 5 children, and he could manage, as many parents can't. And he was in utter despair as to how to educate his children. So he was trying to get a private teacher, send them to boarding house, send them to some school where they could be kept and all that. He tried 1 or 2 years, but no result, no good result. He was disappointed. All that cost him money without giving any education to his children. So he asked me also to get some teacher for his children, and I tried, and we are trying to arrange something. In the meantime, he came to Pondicherry. And he talked to mother. Mother was not very willing to take up the work because it means a big work and long process and so on. But he said, no, if you take up, and mother said it will require a lot of money to equip and to begin, and very beginning capital will be a lot. And he said, no, I will give the money if you start and if you begin and so. So when he was so insistent, mother thought, all right, to give him trial. That's how it began with 5 or 6 children like that, you see. And one house was bought, and then changes were made in it to make it fit for students to stay and the school to start, and cost him some few thousand of rupees. And we bought another house next adjoining, and well, then more people also wanted to send their children, and well, it went on like that. It's now 13 years. That's how it started.
Wonderful.
So nobody wanted to start a school, but this man came and said he wants his children to be educated. And that became the starting point.
Do brilliant men and women in different fields of cultural life and scholastic learning come there?
Yes, there are many.
Classes?
Yes.
And how many children and young people have they now?
About 420, 30.
And about how many are taking the university course?
Well, it depends. I think university means the whole group might be about 75 to 100.
Well, that's really wonderful. Wonderful.
Top.
What's the age?
Yes. From 6, 5 to 7 it starts, and up to 20 or 22 it goes.
Many of them receive all their education? in
Yes.
15 years, but
They're all the time there. So.
Yes, please.
Yes, it is costly in one sense, but they don't charge for teaching. But still, there is other things, you see. For teaching, they don't charge. The teachers are not people who work for being there. The teachers are not paid. But even then, education is always an expense, even in the richest countries. I'm sure, even in America, education never pays. Education only costs.